So hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to give an update about Corona. I went on and told you guys why I got my vaccine and what my spirit guide said about Corona. But I like to talk a little bit more about it because I know that some people also want to really get the breakdown as far as how it pertains to conspiracy, as well as the effectiveness of the vaccine. I guess I'll just start there. So last year I did go on and make a video about exactly where Corona was coming from. So if you did watch that video, you got a little bit of information, but I talked more about Bill Gates because if we had a panic button to push at that time, like his name would have been on it. It would have said like Bill Gates pushed this for panic. So you already know me. My name is Dr. D Oracle. Welcome back to my channel. Please make sure you click on that thumbs up button if you like this video, and make sure to tap on the bell so you can be notified whenever I upload anything new. So for starters, one thing that I want people to go back and research, because all why, there were police shootings and we were paying attention to how obnoxious President Trump was. Behind our backs, there was something going on that caused Corona. Did the U.S. become the world's top oil producer under President Trump? Well, as the presidential election approaches, I am increasingly seeing claims that President Trump put the U.S. back on top as the world's leading oil producer. Well, you got to do your own research to find out. But that was the purpose of the oil tycoons backing him in his campaign in the first place, ladies and gentlemen. One of the things that was happening was all of those oil tycoons that had backed Trump, well, he took the policies off of the petroleum production. Fact check. U.S. oil and gas regulatory rollbacks under Trump. The Trump administration has moved broadly to relax Obama-era rules put in place to regulate methane and other greenhouse gas emissions, offshore drilling safety, fuel economy, and wetlands rules that impact oil, gas, and coal industries. The rollbacks come amid surging oil and gas production that put the United States output ahead of historical leaders Saudi Arabia and Russia. So you see how much oil they pumped out. 12.4 million barrels per day of crude, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, or the EIA. Oil production. So during this time that Trump was president, we also have Russia, we have China, we have India. And if you look up, Israel is one of them too. All of the big oil producers. There were oil wars going on between them. Okay. So what happened was they pumped out a lot of oil, so much oil that they had leftovers, okay? They had these barrels of oil left over. You guys see my Now, you can find this article, of course, with the New York Times. Oil companies on tumbling prices, disastrous, devastating. The use of gasoline and other fuels is dropping as Saudi Arabia and Russia increase production, sending oil prices to their lowest level in a generation. The once mighty oil industry is shrinking quickly around the world, hunkering down in survival mode. With the coronavirus pandemic all but eliminating travel and commutes, demand for energy is tumbling, and oil companies from Algeria to West Texas are slashing budgets. Refineries are cutting production of gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel. Pipeline operators are telling producers that they can ship crude oil only if there is a buyer willing to take the fuel, because storage tanks are filling up fast and American oil companies are dropping rigs, dismissing fracking crews, and beginning to shut down wells. As much as 20% or 20 million barrels a day of oil demand may be lost as the global economy slows, according to the International Energy Agency. Hey, birdie. We haven't been bonding as quickly as I hoped, but nevertheless, I still have the bird. But anyways, those oil wars, and you can research this online. There was press about it, but it wasn't in the media more than COVID was. Actually, there were very few clips about it in the media, so a lot of people didn't catch on to it. But what happens is when they produce a lot of oil like that and they do a lot of petroleum processing, they're digging up a lot of archaic, really decomposed material. So this could be from human beings, from old animals that were like billions of years old that, you know, are decomposing beneath the earth and doing this like whole process so, you know, Mother Earth can continue to replenish us. They're digging that stuff up. Now, what is in that? Dead ancestors, dead animals, dead trash. We can also say fecal matter is there, urine. So waste products. And the earth takes those waste products and definitely, you know, recreates something new for us every time. But the overproduction of it is what causes us to be sick. Now, if you go back and look up the Spanish flu epidemic, okay, the same thing happened during the Spanish flu epidemic. They pumped out a whole bunch of petroleum and oil, and of course that was around wartime. So I think then, you know, it was big business. And we all know that war is for economic purposes, okay? It's very rare that you have people who are really under military threat that need to go to war. They usually start a war so that they can change the economy. That's definitely what I feel about the overproduction of the petroleum and the oil wars. And I do feel like that was one of the reasons why China shut different people up. It's not that they didn't want them to tell about how coronavirus really got out, but it was that they wanted coronavirus to actually have an effect on the population so that there can be a divide between the richest and the poorest people. In that way, you can have more control over everyone because people don't have money to get what they need. And so that is like the conspiracy theory level of the coronavirus that I get, okay? That I see, that makes sense and is valid. I did a lot of research on this, and I also found out how much pollution is put in the air when they, go above those policies, as well as pollution from driving and other things that we're doing here.
Here's a summary from World Nomads. Air pollution is a huge problem in Italy. What's particularly troublesome is particle pollution that pervades Italy and accounts for breathing and heart problems, causing a whopping 9% of deaths of Italians over the age of 30.
For all the Bible people, this I think is in Revelations chapter 9, verse 1, I don't know, through like 5. Because it tells you in there about the smokestacks. Once I understood, they told me it's in Revelations 9. I'm like, what are they talking about? And I read it, I'm like, okay, this sounds really weird. But then I looked up pictures of oil factories, and they looked exactly like smokestacks and what was described in that verse. So putting together like different pieces of the puzzle to understand that one of the things that we're facing right now is not so much the government trying to kill us or all of that, but it's that the environment is so polluted. Everything you eat, everything you drink is really questionable. The water is like poison.
How much of the U.S. groundwater is contaminated? Well, according to USGS.gov, more than 1 in 5, or 22%, groundwater samples contain at least one contaminant at a concentration of potential concern for human health. You can do your own research on that to find out the places where this has happened and what exactly those contaminants are.
People who drunk tap water or anything and they caught corona, like, that's a no-brainer. Different foods that grow out the ground, especially rice. Make sure you wash your rice. Okay, white rice. Jasmine rice or, some of those other rices are okay, but white rice, the way that it grows and everything, it needs to be cleansed very well before you eat it or feed it to your family. Another thing I'll tell you about the conspiracy theory is it's about markets being saturated, because before Corona, pretty much every single market had been saturated. We would have to revitalize the planet to make new markets. That's a little bit harder. I think it won't keep up, the money system, because if we realize how consumerism is so destructive, we would really have to change some of our habits. And I think that would change, the way currency is exchanged, as well as what rich or poor really means. It would definitely change class, because everybody would have to live at a certain level of balance. No ifs, ands, or maybes. But if we can keep this topsy-turvy roller coaster going, where we're selling stuff and we're making new markets, there's always a way for someone else to gain wealth. And from wealth, we have different things like selling to places and, acquisition of land. They've colonized pretty much almost all of the earth and taken people's land. They place military bases on people's land so they can have strategic positioning to, participate in a war. So we have to pay attention to that. And, at the end of the day, it's about, if I own more resources, I can control more people. Therefore, I can enslave more people. And a lot of people are enslaved not because somebody said you're a slave or by choice. It's because they just, period, need money to live. Okay? So we got people all the way down from prostitution all the way up to different kinds of scamming, and then we've got all the people trying to be honest in between. So this is a pretty rough time, and it's going to get even rougher. Remember, just study American history and the past and see the pattern of how, markets changed and the acquisition of land switched hands. Wars came and people got sick. Just go back and look at it. We're following that same pattern right now. So if you want to put together a conspiracy that's valid and it's not just a theory, you need to be discerning and you need to tune into your intuition. That's very important. Now let's go to the vaccine. They don't know everything about the vaccine. I am very cognizant of that. I feel like the vaccine has a certain amount of immunity, maybe for about 2 to 4 months. So people who have taken the vaccine, if you can kind of use your discernment and understand, okay, this is the 2-month mark to where I got the vaccine. Just pay attention to yourself. They just made the vaccine last year and they only studied it to see if it was safe for humans. They haven't studied it to see how effective it is over time, and that would be like a year, 2 years. But we know when they make vaccines like the flu vaccine or the pneumonia vaccine, we have to repeatedly get those vaccines so that we can continue to stay immune, and then we have to keep up with the mutations of the different diseases. So we have 2 mutations from COVID-19, which is the Mu and the Delta variant. Understand those 2 mutations are also what probably doesn't match up with the vaccine, because remember they made the vaccine like 6 months ago. So when they make the vaccine 6 months ago and 2 mutations come out, that vaccine doesn't necessarily cover the genetic material of those 2 mutations, okay? It doesn't have it. And so with that being said, we may find ourselves getting vaccinated for COVID maybe once or twice a year. It is what it is. So I just want people to be cognizant of that and not think that vaccines just don't work. But another thing is, if people have already had COVID and they get the vaccine, COVID has already done a certain amount of irreversible destruction to their immune system. Okay? COVID is somewhat sort of like AIDS, I feel. That's why people keep saying, oh, since COVID is out, people don't get anything else. Well, at the end of the day, if you already have a pre-existing condition, okay, fine. But if you get COVID, I feel like COVID kind of opens you up to other things because it suppresses your immune system. So later on, they're going to come out and tell you guys that it's not really all of COVID what people die from, but they catch COVID, and the damage that happens because of COVID breaks down their immune system, and so they get some other kind of infection that they wouldn't ordinarily get if they didn't have COVID. Think about it. It's just kind of sort of like the AIDS virus. Like, before they really knew what AIDS was, they were coming in with different illnesses and infections, and then they were thinking that people were dying from that, until they actually were able to isolate the AIDS virus and pinpoint it. And then they still had to do more research to show how HIV turns to AIDS, and AIDS is what opens you up to the opportunistic infections. So we still have a long way to go with COVID. That's the reason why we need to be discerning. So now I'm just going to go over a few different things that you can do just to kind of help yourself. Eat as much whole food as possible. Don't eat junk, okay? You want to get the raw vitamins and minerals from everything. Make smoothies sometime and add vitamins. Get you some vitamin D. You definitely don't want to be vitamin D deficient. You want to have very good vitamin D levels. I do copper water, okay? And what I do is I order the copper and then I wind it up and put it in a jug and I put it under my pyramid and I let it sit under my pyramid and then I take it out after probably about 6 hours and then I drink a little bit each day. I don't drink the whole jug of copper water and drink it all day long. I get a cup in the morning and I drink some copper water, okay? So that's really good for your system. I would definitely recommend using crystals for the hypothalamus, for your third eye, and for your crown chakra, so you can stay aware, stay discerning, stay open to what's going on and be able to react to it quickly. But that's 2 things that I do: whole foods, copper water. Of course, we just want to be really, really clean and sanitary. But I do have, where's those lights at? Let me see. I got these UV lights. Also, that I use to make my copper water. Because light kills COVID. So just make sure you're opening your windows, keeping a lot of sunlight coming through. And also for your vitamin D production, sunlight is very, very important. They've been talking about, I guess it's called ivermectin and hydrochloroquine.
That's hydrochloroquine. Hydrochloroquine. I think I said it right that time.
And hydrochloroquine. I heard they're giving that out in like little COVID packs in Brazil and India, and they saying it's really good and it's effective, but that's banned here. So that's another thing that tells me that the coronavirus is about the economy. It's about money. It's about, getting people on a certain vibration so that they understand, like, this is what we have to do. So when people are saying sometimes it's about control, they're right. I really feel like also, on a spiritual level, it's just important to be really connected to the ancestors. Remember, that petroleum and stuff, though, that stuff has our ancestors' blood in it. I really think, like, this is saying, we went too far. Like, this is like an attack from down below. And it does say in Revelations 9, it calls it Abaddon and Apollyon, which are the gods of the deep. So we have to pay attention, by being discerning, looking at these clues, as well as watching what we put into our body, and being careful how high or how low your vibration is. Don't let people take you down to a low vibration. Your whole body goes down in vibration when that happens, even to the cellular level. So it's easier for things to attack you, especially germs and viruses. And finally, understand that this is a time when we are under spiritual attack right now. I don't know if you noticed it or paid attention to it or you felt it, but we are under spiritual attack. And spiritually speaking, if you're under attack, that could make it manifest as a physical illness or a mental illness. So that's another thing you're going to see outside of coronavirus is, people becoming more degenerate in their mind, not caring what they say or what they do, and really just kind of hurtful towards other people. So watch out for that. Aside from everything else, we're living here with coronavirus now. Coronavirus, it comes from below the ground. So I pretty much think the pollution of the planet and how, we've handled things is really coming to a head. And people are using that narrative to control the markets, control money, control aspects of people's minds if they can. I even asked my daughter earlier because she was like, "Oh, we can't believe the press." I was like, "Okay, well, people is reporting stuff to me. So when do you believe the press?" She didn't even know. I said, "You have to have good discernment. If you don't have good discernment, you don't know, who's lying and who's telling the truth. So just be more in touch with spirit, raise your vibration. Go back to old practices and things that you knew that your parents and your ancestors did. And just take care of the home, take care of yourself, take care of your children. Don't let people, get to you. Try to meditate, at least for 10 or 15 minutes a day. And wipe down everything, keep the house clean, sage up. If you're not doing it every other day, try to do it every day if you can, But that's going to be the ending of my talk on just expounding on coronavirus, the conspiracies, and how the vaccine is working, things we can do to kind of help ourselves. If you have any questions, leave them down for me in the comment section below where we can continue this conversation. If you have some methods that you've been using to protect yourself from coronavirus, I'd definitely like to hear about it. And just in general, what you feel about the vaccine and the conspiracy surrounding corona. Thanks for watching.